Good morning, everyone. Um, my name is Kayli Pascal Martinez. I will be presenting to you my senior capstone proposal. So let's get started. If at any point you can't hear me or I don't know, something goes wrong, please let me know. Okay, so hi, I'm Kayli Pascal Martinez. I'm a four-year student at UH West. I graduated Hawaiian Mission Academy in 2020. My program of study is creative media. With a concentration of communications, I am currently a digital content producer at KITV for Island News. That position is somewhat new to me as I started off as a Robert K. Kalla Fellow with like over a little over a year now, which is kind of crazy how fast time goes. But I believe I have a passion for storytelling. I love spending time with my ohana. I was born in Vegas, raised here on Oahu. I can't wait to graduate and start this journey for my capstone, and I'm really excited to share that all with you. So, just a little bit an overview of what I'm going to be talking about right now. I'm going to be talking about the plans for my senior capstone project, what I plan to do for my deliverable. I'll be giving you my thesis statement, a little bit about why young adults disconnect with traditional news and how they turn to social media, my objective and rationale, the goals, the process I had, the challenges I had along the way, and the significance, the issue, the problem, and why it's important. So let's get into that. So my thesis statement was the disengagement of young adults from conventional news sources results in a distrust of the content provided, leading them to depend on social media for information and becoming disconnected from both local and national news. So my goal, I wanted my topic to be related to the work field that I was interested in, along with starting a conversation about the very real and current divide among young adults and traditional news sources. So fun fact, I didn't know much about the news before my fellowship experience, and it made me realize how a lot of young adults, like myself, are out of touch with what the news entails and therefore has us relying on not so reliable sources. And that's kind of what inspired me to do this topic. And the main goal really is that I wanted to start a conversation, bring awareness to this and how I went about it. So during my research process, I wanted to cover the following subjects so that I got a sense of how the news came to be, what the current status is, and where the news wants to be. So I included the following in my research: the history of traditional news, how it's been accessed, the current state of news journalists, the use of social media among young adults, the challenges involved with that, the mistrust between young adults and news outlets, as well as the collaboration between traditional news and social media platforms, diversifying news content, engaging storytelling, and narrative journalism. Some challenges that I faced along the way, staying focused and staying on the right path for sure. Distractions were inevitable, but I needed to make sure that I was getting things done, researching, writing, rewriting, reading, and all that fun stuff. Also, a big part was like doubting myself and stressing out about not finding a good enough topic to conduct my senior project around. Debating between a few different topics was really stressful. I don't want to say a bit because it actually was really stressful, because I didn't want to end up doing something that I wasn't passionate about. But after a lot of contemplation, I feel like I got a right topic that I was really interested in, and it didn't feel like a chore, like I was actually curious about this information, and I wanted to know more about it. So I think I got a good one. So, yeah. So my senior capstone plans, my capstone project. So my vision is a mini series that will question why there's a gap among young adults and traditional news sources, and what both young adults and journalists think of the issue and what can be done to solve it. So, my capstone project holds significance in addressing the fundamental shifts in news consumption driven by technological advancements and changing audience preferences. It offers valuable insights for traditional news outlets seeking to engage with younger generations effectively. The capstone contributes to fostering a more well informed society by bridging the generational divide and ensuring relevance and sustainability of traditional news sources in an ever-changing media environment. So the issue. The evolving landscape of news consumption, particularly among young adults who increasingly rely on social media as their primary source of news, is an issue. The shift poses both opportunities and challenges for traditional news outlets as they must adapt their strategies to effectively engage younger audiences. So, the problem: an informed population is crucial for a functioning society. When people are well informed, they can make educated decisions about their lives, hold others accountable, contribute positively to their communities. However, without access to accurate and reliable information from credible sources, individuals may be susceptible to misinformation and manipulation, which can undermine the way our society works. Continuing on with the problem. So, some societal impacts with having an uninformed younger generation that relies solely on social media for news can result in the following. One, the spread of misinformation and disinformation can lead to misunderstandings, division, and even harm. Two, young adults' lack of awareness of important local and national issues takes away their ability to participate meaningfully in informed decisions as citizens. If traditional news outlets struggle to adapt, there could be a loss of quality journalism and investigative reporting, further eroding the trust in media and possibly society itself. So the following slides are some statistics on what journalists think of the impact of social media and the industry, how often social media is used to seek news information among different generations, what ages actively avoid the news, along with some reasons why people avoid the news. So this slide in particular, this data involved 1,543 people, media working people, and it indicated that a lot of journalists don't like the way social media companies control the news that people have access to. So here we see that almost 80% of journalists' attitudes towards social media, um, it's mostly negative. They believe that social media has a mostly negative impact on the industry, while 5.8% believe that social media has a mostly positive impact, and neither positive nor negative impact was 14.1%. Continuing, we have some statistics on the frequency of using social media as a source of news in the US as of August 2022, and this is categorized by generation. So we can start with boomers, and below I've listed the different ages, like around those ages for different generations, just for your reference. So we have boomers at 24% with the blue, which shows 24% use social media daily in the United States as a source of their news. And then Gen X, 39% use it daily, 45% of millennials, and then topping it off with Gen Z, 50% use social media as a source of news daily in the US. And to add to why this is an issue, continuing off of what I just said, a study was done to review the misinformation about COVID-19 vaccines that was spreading on social media. If you get that pun, that's a good pun. But anyway, here we can see the three main themes of misinformation that was found in the research study. So here we see conspiracy claims, medical misinformation, and vaccine development. So all of these have been spreading or were spreading across social media. And basically, this adds on to why social media is it has a big old mess of a lot of information that you don't know if it's true or not, basically. Also, we have a proportion of who sometimes or often actively avoids the news, and this is also separated by age. This is from 2017 to 2022. So these are the different ages right here. And as we can see, there's a common trend as far as the ages go. So the youngest would be 18 to 24. And if we're going off of what I was presenting with you earlier, this Gen Z 12 to 27, millennials 28 to 43, When we're going off of that, we kind of see a trend on how it kind of there's an overlap of generations as far as ages go. So this further signifies the pressing issue of a generational divide with traditional news sources. So if we look at the graph, we see that 36% of people over the age of 35 um, actively avoid the news. And then we see ages 25 to 34, 42%, and then 18 to 24, the youngest age group, 40%. Also, a report done in 2022 found that the most common reasons for people avoiding the news in all markets were the following. So they found that 43% say that there's too much politics and COVID-19 stories. 36% say that the news has a negative effect on their mood. 29% say that they're worn out by the amount of news that there is. 29% also say that the news is an untrustworthy or biased resource. 17% say that it leads to arguments they'd rather avoid, and 16% say that there's nothing that they can do with the information that's given. So my target audience, it's aimed at young adults, generally 18 to 25 years old. However, I'd like it to impact all ages, especially adults in the industry. I want to start a conversation among young news viewers and older news viewers because progress equals collaboration. So the collaborative effort among young adults and the adults in the industry is the key to what will make this successful. So although my aim is at the young adults, I want it to affect everybody. And like I said, I want to start a conversation and bring awareness to that. So the proposed solution. There is no one right solution that's set in stone for this problem. Instead, there are a few suggestions that can lead us in the right direction. So the research I identified highlighted the following. Diversifying traditional news content by incorporating a variety of different content other than just news. There should be a balance between entertaining, positive, informative content, such as that. Modifying engagement approaches to younger audiences while sticking to journalistic credibility and integrity. So news sources should encourage more transparency with audiences to address this mistrust issue that people often have with news sources. Also, news sources should continue to observe and learn what younger viewers want. This should be an ongoing practice as not every generation will be the same. My generation will not be the same as the next generation, and so on and so forth. So it can't just be, okay, we know what they want now, we're sticking to that. No, it's an ongoing thing, and everybody will be different. We want to continually learn what they want to see, what they want to know. Yeah, continually adapt, basically. Ultimately, the cooperation and collaboration between professionals in the field and young news seekers determine the future of this issue and if it'll succeed or not. Moving on to my senior capstone plans, I'm going to be going more into depth about what I'm planning on delivering at the end of the capstone semester, more about my project and the approach that I will be doing. So some subjects, some subjects I would have in my mini series would be professionals in the field, news reporters, news directors, producers, etc. I can utilize my own job and ask my fellow coworkers to participate in interviews. Also, since my target audience is geared towards young adults, of course, I'd have to incorporate some in my series. I'd have maybe 3 or 4 individual interviews with them on their perspective of the subject, any solutions that they come up with, etc. I can also utilize UH West campus and possibly high school students from my alma mater to participate in young adult interviews, but that one's an iffy, so I'm not sure, I mean, logistically about the high school one, but that was just an idea. Continuing on, as I conduct each interview, I expect it should take around 10 to 20 minutes long, not including setup and takedown. I'm aiming for each episode to be around 5 to 8 minutes long. However, this may change depending on how well each interview goes and the type of info that I get. I'm also aiming for at least 5 episodes total, but this is subject to change because I don't know, like requirement wise, yeah, this may change. Question examples. This is specifically for my young adults subjects. How do you access the news? Social media, TV. How often do you follow the news? Like, what do you find most interesting? If you were in charge of putting the news out there for the public, what would you do differently to get better engagement from viewers around your age? Some deliverable examples, I would like to include behind the scenes footage of local news stations as B-roll to get a better understanding of what the role of news is and what practices it entails. I can also utilize sources such as Ulu Ulu for awesome footage as well. Fortunately, I have access to a news station, like I said, so I'll be able to get actual behind the scenes shots of a working newsroom, which is pretty cool. These are just some screen grabs here on the side that I wanted to include, kind of like how I envisioned it would look like. It could be me interviewing my subject, and then maybe like an establishing shot like this in the newsroom would be cool. But those are just some ideas. Continuing on with examples, I would also like to take inspiration from videos from Bianca Grillau. She's a news reporter who tells in-depth stories, delving into various stories around the world. You should check out some of her videos on YouTube. They're actually really interesting. She did one on Hawaii too, so here's a screen grab of that. These are kind of how I envision my own deliverable to look like. These are some typical shots I would like to include. Close-ups for the subject or the B-roll, medium close-up shot, medium shots, medium full shots. This is subject to change. I don't know, creatively, I may think of something else on the spot, but those are just some ideas. So, deliverable contingency plan. The following issues may arise during the process of making this series, but that's where I can plan solutions ahead of time just in case. So, time conflicts with interviewees, time management, scheduling interviews in advance, and make sure to stay connected with the subjects planning to speak, especially those who work in the field and have limited time. Yeah. Efficient storage on computer to edit and handle footage for the project. So I'm considering buying more storage, or I can take advantage of UHS resources that may have more storage capacity. Shooting wisely, capturing everything with the intent of using it in the project so unnecessary footage doesn't take up space. Also, lack of equipment. I'm considering renting out equipment from UHS possibly or other organizations such as Olelo, or even ask to borrow equipment from the news station. But I don't know, that one's an iffy. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So these are just some things that I see possibly happening during the progress of this project. Um, but yeah. Mahalo for listening. If you have any questions, I can attempt to answer them now. Thank you.